Recently, I have been thinking about when I first began to practice meditation, study the various schools and traditions of meditation, and look into the Western schools of thought that would be a good complement to this journey. What I found more than anything is that it was incredibly difficult to get myself to do any of that, even though I was intellectually and physically obsessed with it. I'm sure you have noticed that it is incredibly difficult to sit down and engage in a meditation practice every day. It seems like sometimes in life, the more that you really want to pursue those things we know would be better for us, or that we want to do, the harder it becomes to accomplish. This seems to be the case no matter what it is, whether it's sitting down to meditate for a simple 10 minutes, doing a few yoga stretches, going to the gym, or any plan in life, big or small. The more we think about doing these simple things that can help us, or the more we dream about pursuing big life goals, the more we procrastinate actually doing them. There is a reason that in a lot of meditational and metaphysical texts throughout the ages, regardless of what school of thought it comes from, they refer to a right effort or a noble effort, or that their practice requires tremendous discipline or a mind honed and yoked. They understood that the mind does not want to be reined in, that it does not want to be yoked, that it wants us to do whatever it chooses to do, and not what you are telling it to do, what you need it to do, or even what you want it to do. There is a reason for this. A rascally little force that dwells within us that Stephen Pressfield, in his wonderful book The War of Art, calls resistance. I have heard this force called many things, though. The one that springs forth is desire of the mind, or perhaps if you like your forces with a little personality, Mara, who is the demon that tries to dissuade the Buddha from fully awakening under the Bodhi tree. Regardless of what it is called or symbolized as, though, this psychological force works against you in almost everything in your life each day, and is intimately involved in your moment-by-moment decision-making. Whether we know this or not, I think comes with some measure of growth and wisdom within us, and then doing something about it is even more so a continual battle of self versus self. This force of resistance is the mind and body silently revolting against us and attempting to maintain control. In many ways, it is the thing that keeps us from achieving our full potential, whether that be to sit down and do 15 minutes of meditation before we get the day rolling, or being fully engaged in meditation all day long while on retreat. Whether you know this resistance well, or are just now starting to realize what it is in your life, we have all felt its harpy's call to procrastination, distraction, and quick hits of dopamine to satisfy us for a short amount of time. Usually we feel it in the form of some internal tension whenever the idea of wanting to do something productive, constructive, or generally helpful comes into our space of mind. Whether it is to sit down on the meditation cushion, open that book you know you need to read for class, finally starting that essay you have been wanting to get published, or signing up to return to college, resistance will come about whispering anything it can to prevent our progress. So instead of fighting the resistance, know it. It is far better to voluntarily face the challenges of the day than be forced unwillingly into the arena against them. Get familiar with your demon of resistance and invite it into your home, giving it a place at your table so it is no longer an enemy and something to dread or fear, but an ally that can show you when you are doing that which is most important to you at that time. So it can show you how to live your best existence day to day, according to the value structure that you wish to aim for, rather than the one that is built on short bursts of vain happiness. Allow it to show you what living and achieving your highest ideal might look like. two separate phrases from two separate traditions spring to mind for some reason. One is from Christ at the Sermon of the Mount, where he says, "Do not dwell on the suffering of tomorrow, because the suffering of the day is sufficient." And the other is from the character Alan Watts, who says, "If you're going to do something, just do it. Don't inform the whole town that you're going to do it. And don't tell the devil that you're going to be doing it all year long, lest he summon his demons to tempt you all that year. Simply do it, one day at a time." For example, say you are sitting down on your couch and have been mindlessly watching YouTube videos or cycling through Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, just kinda droning in a subdued mind state for a few hours, until the thought dawns on you to sit down and meditate for half an hour or so, that you can be a little more centered before you go out into the world. But because you know that it is something that would really help you interact with people and is integral for your growth as a human being, at least in that area of your life, resistance will try its best to keep you watching those YouTube videos and scrolling through social media. Generally, resistance will come about in the form of a physical discomfort or minor mental distress. When you think about sitting down and meditating while you are droning online, the thought of doing it will become physically uncomfortable, starting to tense up at the idea of it almost. It may be like walking through syrup to get your cushion and sit down. As well, the mind will be firing to try and think of all kinds of things that you need to do before you sit down and actually meditate, like cleaning the house, or showering, or eating, or taking the mail out, summoning up any number of things to keep you from actually getting there. The thing is, however, once you're on the cushion, at the gym, reading, or whatever that thing is, it's not nearly as bad as we made it out to be beforehand. In fact, it is somewhat enjoyable and leaves you fulfilled in an aspect of your existence and ready to face the day with more vigor. You feel you're actually moving and accomplishing things that you find more important and enjoyable on a larger scale than those things that were keeping you from doing it. But because of resistance, when you're absorbed in YouTube, video games, social media, or whatever, doing something which would actually help you progress as a human being seems to be like such a beast or a burden. The more important something would be for our individual growth intellectually, spiritually, emotionally, or physically, the more powerfully it seems that resistance will try and keep us from doing it. I think a good example, since we're on it, is meditation. Well, at first it can seem like a hobby, a one-off thing to relax, or something that you just do for a couple minutes a day. The more and more you practice it, the deeper it takes you into exploring the depths of your own self, consciousness, and reality as it presents itself to you, allowing you to explore states of being and perceptions that you had no idea existed beforehand. Yet, because of its importance and the measure of growth it can provide, resistance can take many forms. It can take the form of perfectionism on the cushion, self-doubt about where you are in your practice or if it's worth it, imposter syndrome, laziness, or any number of things which will try their damnedest to dissuade you from doing it for even a moment. The odd thing about resistance, though, is that it never goes away. Even to this day, when I wake up at 4 a.m. to go downstairs and get on my meditation cushion, I still feel the want to stay in bed and sleep, or the need to reach for my phone to go through emails and check Instagram. Even though I have been doing it for years, this resistance is still present. What happens, though, is you get skilled at automatically noticing and breaking through that resistance and using it as an ally, a little, each day, until what at first seemed like a mountain is no more than a molehill. Once the ball starts truly rolling, discipline takes over, and you can't help but let it roll. So use this resistance, whether it is in meditation or anything else you are trying to do. Use it as a guide. Where you find the most resistance to do something you are dreaming of doing or becoming, let it be the compass. As you keep going and keep making an ally of resistance instead of an enemy, you will slowly begin to practice meditation like you have always wanted to do. You will begin going to the gym consistently. You will be reading, and you will be slowly waking up to find yourself exactly here and now, living the life that you want to be living, rather than the one your ego, mind, and resistance would have you in. I hope that by me pointing out this force, you will see it a little more in life, and that today or tomorrow or whenever you work up the motivation and courage, you will break through that resistance and start doing what you want to do, beyond anything holding you back. Day by day, becoming just this. Just here, just now. Practicing the existence of living as a human being. Fighting back the resistance of the day, so that in time you may look back and see the harvest of your hard work and practice. Now, I hope you enjoyed this little rant on resistance that kind of came up out of nowhere within me. If you did, leave a review. I love to respond to those. What are your thoughts on this resistance? What are your thoughts on that discipline that comes with freedom, or that freedom with discipline? Thanks. This is Silas Day, and I hope you have a wonderful day and that this has provided some measure of growth for you today.